Welcome to Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. I'm so happy you're here. Happy Friday. I hope you've had a good, productive week. And if you're like me, you're looking for a little R&R this weekend. So I hope it's a great weekend for you. A couple of quick reminders. The January-June mini catalog last chance promotion is on. Many of the products that are retiring from that catalog are discounted, some even up to 50% off. And please note that all of those retiring products are available while supplies last only. So you want to shop early for your best selection this month. In addition to that, the kits collection online, we have for the whole month, we have our kits buy one, get one half price. And I'm going to give you a tip. You can get the more expensive of your two kits that you're choosing half price. Okay, that's not typical for most buy one, get one half off sales, but Stampin' Up! Is giving us a little extra in this promotion by letting us take 50% off the more expensive kit. To get that to happen for you, when you are placing an order online, put in your least expensive kit first, followed by the more expensive kit, and then the 50% off will come off that kit. If you're ordering multiples, do the same thing. Lower priced and then the higher priced kit, then the lower priced and the higher priced kit. All right, and that's how you'll get the best deal on all of the kits in our online kits collection. And there's some really great ones. Light the Candles is one of my favorites. Million Thanks is also a favorite of mine. And the other one, I think it's called Celebrate Today. It's the 12 by 12 magnet board in the white frame. I love that. And in fact, I purchased 9 of those and I have them upstairs in my living room, arranged in like a big square, so I can change out photos and things like that depending on the seasons and whatnot. I can even change out the papers and the colors of it. So I love it, love it. All right. Also a quick reminder that my Happy Forest Friends mega class to go is open for registration right now through Tuesday, June 7th, okay? The Happy Friends Forest Mega Class to Go, you will make 10 different cards. That's what makes it a mega class. 10 different cards. It's selling well. You can take a look online at my blog, stampinpeace.com, for all of the information. Or you may have received it in an email as well. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll just very quickly show you just a few of the cards. Let's see, let's pick out a couple here. Here's a couple. You'll get a full package of DSP with options 1 and 2 of this class. Here's another fun one, but they're all great. Some are more simple and some have a little more stamping in them, but they're all fabulous. So 10 different cards with my Happy Forest Friends mega class to go. All right, on Wednesday evening, I'm going to flip my camera around now because I think you'll get a better look at these when I'm talking if I flip my camera. So I'm going to flip my camera to my workstation, my work surface, and while I'm doing that, please share this live video, and I've got some great cards for you today. On Wednesday, for my Facebook Live that evening, I shared the Artisan Editions dies. It contains 3 dies, and this is what I call a standalone die set. The purpose is to enhance the cards and projects that we're already making, to have an additional layer or element that we can put with our other stamps and dies. So I'm really excited about this. On Wednesday evening, we used these two. The first one, the floral one, I showed people that you can just do a white on white, make a real simple, elegant card. And then we added a little wink of Stella to that. On the second card, it's basically the same thing, all of the same elements with the addition of Stampin' blends, or alcohol-based markers, and some color. The dimensions are all the same, but just gives you a completely different look. And the third card we made, I actually colored the die cut, or I should say watercolored the die cut with Stampin' Ink refills. Just takes a little tiny drop of each color, and our aqua painters, which can be found in the annual catalog. And so you can see I've used that same die cut in 3 different ways, and switching out the colors, the possibilities are endless. It really can be cards for any occasion at all. Then I decided we should also use this one. And when I think of this one's very different than the other, because the other two cut out the inside lines and designs, but then it cuts out the shape all the way around. This one does not. This only cuts out those little openings, those little slits in a piece of cardstock. It does not cut all the way around those shapes. So I think it's a different and kind of interesting. And when I first saw it, my thought was it would be great for making masculine cards. Many times when I make masculine cards, they end up being kind of, what should I say, geometric themed. And this is the one we made. And I have to say, I love how it turned out. I let the viewers on Wednesday evening's Facebook Live choose the colors. I asked, what are some colors you most often use for masculine cards? And so we created on the fly, and this is what we came up with. And honestly, I think it's my favorite card from that evening. In the Artisan Editions dies, there's also this die, which we did not use Wednesday, so that is a featured product today, as well as the True Beauty bundle. Comes with an awesome die set. The True Beauty bundle will also be featured today. When I'm going to give you this tip, when I get new die sets, I remove the cellophane envelope or bag that it's in, and then this is how they're packaged. And so when I first got them, I would put the dies back in the same way, and then I would try to close them. And a lot of times this little tab would get caught on those dies. So from now on, when I get a die set, actually I should say they're usually within the folder, and the print is facing a plain front. But what I do is I take them out and I flip the folder so it goes in the back side, facing the back of the envelope where the closure is. And I should let you see this too. Isn't this great? Also for backgrounds. I love it. That fun lattice die. And then I put the dies in facing the front. That way, when I go to close them, it's a real quick, simple closure. It doesn't get, that tab doesn't get caught on anything at all. But we will be using some of these dies along with the True Beauty stamp. Now, for today's card, last Friday, we made this off-center Z-fold card, okay? Off-center Z-fold card using the, what was this called? Hey Sports Fan product suite. So I decided today, I love this so much, and it got rave reviews. So I'm going to use the same fun fold, but none of the same other products. So let's get started. I've got a beautiful card. I'm deciding, should I show it to you? No, I think we'll just make it. I'm not going to show you the sample. Carol, thanks so much for sharing. Hi there, Holly. Hi, Diana. Who else is with me today? Hi, Joan. Carol's from Connecticut. Maria, Stella, Michelle. Oh, it's so nice to have all of you. Okay, so for this off-center Z-fold card, you will start with a card base that measures 5.5 and 10 3/4. So the easiest way to cut this is have your cardstock in a vertical position and then cut it at 5.5 inches. Now, I started with 8.5 by 11. Hi, Brenda. So I know that I need to cut off 1/4 inch to make that 5.5 by 10 3/4 for my card base. Now hold on to this because we will probably be using it on this card and I'll show you how. From there, you're going to score. So you'll want your paper in a horizontal position, so the long side at the top, and you're going to score at 3.5 inches. And then I want you to flip it over because each of those score lines is going to be folded in a different direction. So my first one was at 3.5. This one's at 6 3/4. So flip it back and then you just fold it in, Z-fold. And I'll use my bone folder. You have a nice crease to those edges. And then I've cut some designer series paper and some white cardstock. The designer series paper is also from the same product suite as the True Beauty bundle. The paper and the suite itself is called Awash and Beauty. And I know you're going to say, Mary, you always show us the paper, so I better do that, right? Isn't this gorgeous? Make some quick and easy cards with this or a beautiful scrapbook page. There's the back of it. I see this and I think baby cards. There's another one with really beautiful bouquets of flowers, bright green on the back. Now this sheet, you can cut out all of these pieces with the dies in the True Beauty bundle. And then with those pieces, you can make flowers for your scrapbook pages, for your cards, whatever you want, your collages. A pretty blushing bride. Watercolor wash on the back, some little flowers, and a print on balmy blue. And this is stunning. This uses Mary Merlot, and I love that rich color. And Evening Evergreen. And this is really beautiful too. So that is where Awash and Beauty DSP is where I pulled these two pieces. So my first piece is 3 1/4 by 5 1/4 inches. 3 1/4 by 5 1/4 inches. I'm going to add this floral piece to the center. This one measures 3 inches by 5 1/4. These are the same dimensions that we used last week on the Hayes Sports Fan Fun Fold card. And then lastly, I have my white, which measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 1/4. Okay. And I think I'm missing something. Yes, I am. So I'm going to be putting this piece to use, but not just yet. And this piece that we cut off from the end of the card base, that 1/4 inch strip, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it to the white. Now it's just a little bit too long because our card base was 5.5 inches high. That white is only 5 1/4, so I will cut that down to 5 1/4 as well. And just a tiny bit of multi-purpose glue will do the job for this. So for now, I'm going to set my card, unfinished card, aside along with that little 3/4 inch strip. And now I'm going to cut out this beautiful die. Very, very decorative. Dainty almost. And the die itself measures approximately 3 1/4 by 4 3/4 inches. So you want to have your cardstock paper, whatever you're going to use, just a little bit larger. And remember, it cuts out all the small pieces inside, but it also cuts all the way around that rectangle. And because it has so many intricate cuts, go back and forth on your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then the pieces will fall out really easily. I'll show you here. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, Mary, why don't you get out your die brush? Sometimes every piece adheres to that cutting plate so well that the die brush really is not helpful. So this is what I do. And it lifts up very easily. I just use maybe the piercing end of my take your pick tool or something like that, and I just pull it up. It comes off really easily and really quickly. And then to get out all these pieces, you can basically just kind of curve it, roll it, and they honestly start falling out. Give them a little help with your fingers. And this is a lot quicker than trying to poke them out. So the die brush is very helpful in many situations, but with dies cutting this well and sometimes the cardstock hanging on to, clinging to our cutting plates, the die brush really is not useful in that situation. So I just do that. And honestly, if you curl the paper a little bit, all those little pieces just lifted up, and I can knock them off. Okay, I just vacuumed my floor. If you were watching Wednesday's Facebook Live, I was talking about the mess I had on my craft table and the floor, and I even showed you. Well, I did vacuum just a little bit ago, so now I'm trying to be nice and neat and at least keep it clean for a day or two. Now I'm going to add this to my card front. And I'm just going to use a little bit of multi-purpose glue. And really it just takes a tiny bit going around the edges, the 4 sides. You could use adhesive sheets, adhere your cardstock to an adhesive sheet before you die cut, but this is just as easy. And you don't need adhesive on the whole die cut. So I just did around the 4 sides and a little bit around the middle. And I'm going to press this onto here. So I've got some nice Blushing Bride DSP showing on the top and bottom. But if you wanted to, say, cut off a little bit, measure it, so you'd have an even border of the Blushing Bride all the way around, you can do that too. And then I'm going to do some more stamping and die cutting. And I'm going to stamp the flower or the blossom in Blushing Bride. I'm going to stamp it once and then restamp again. And that's way lighter than I wanted for the stamping again. So I'm going to do the stamp on scrap paper a little lighter. There we go. And then I will stamp these stems and leaves with Mossy Meadow. I need to tap off that little scrap. There we go. I don't want that left on my ink pad. And while I have this out, I'm also going to stamp the sentiment and punch that out. And for that, I'm using this one. It says, "You are a true, excuse me, you are a true friend." And then I'm going to punch it with the Label Me Fancy punch. Now the other pieces, the flower blossoms and the stem and leaves, will be die cut. Need to get all those little scraps off my cutting plates. Close that up. And here are the dies from the True Beauty bundle. I need that, and I need this. And I'll be able to die cut 2 of the 3 pieces at once. You do just have to kind of turn that floral die until it lines up correctly with your stamped flower. And then same thing with the stamps and leaves. Just line it up into place. If you wanted to use washi tape to hold them in place, that's great. I will say that Stampin' Up! Has released a brand new magnetic cutting plate for the big Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I did not buy it on my first order when the new catalog came out. And then when I went to order it recently, it's back ordered. So I can't get it, unorderable, but it is coming, I think it said mid-July. So that gives us something to look forward to then. Now I've die cut this, or stamped the flower a second time, but in a lighter shade. So I want to also die cut that now. I'm looking for the second cutting plate and it was right there, stacked. Come on, come on. There we go. All right, so let's use these stamped and die cut pieces to finish off our card. The first thing I'm going to do is layer these. Now the top layer, I'm making the darker one, and I'm actually going to line up the edges, stack them right on top. You could offset them a little bit if you wanted to, but I'm just going to stack them, and I'm going to give it a little more dimension by just curling up the petals of the top layer. And I'm going to adhere these with one dimensional right in the middle. And then I will adhere all of these pieces to the card front with Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm going to use a mini one right where that bottom leaf meets the stem, just to give it a little more lift for the stem. And before you press down, kind of look at to make sure it's where you want it and make any adjustments before you stick your pieces all the way down. Sometimes that curved stem is a little deceiving, throws me off a little bit. And then I think we need to dress up the center of that flower, so I'm going to use a large iridescent pearl. This embellishment is new in the annual catalog, and I love them. I didn't think that they would be that different than the regular pearls, but they are. They really are. And then I'm going to finish this off. This strip it's obviously from the same piece of DSP as that first panel, and this strip measures 3 1/4 inches by 3 inches. And then I will pop up the sentiment on dimensionals also. So there is our off-center Z-fold card featuring one of the Artisan Editions dies, along with the True Beauty bundle and a wash, was it a wash with beauty, I think, or a wash in color, designer series paper that coordinates with that bundle. So what do you think of that? And who's ready for another project? All right, let me move some things here. For this next one, I've got a piece of brass foil. I'm going to push this one out of the way for now. I've got a piece of brass foil, and I'm going to, whoops, cut using that same Artisan Editions die. When you cut something out that has a lot of areas to cut, I like to just flip it over and just look to see that all areas cut out well. And it looks like they did. And this time it did not stick to the cutting plate. And I'm just going to do the same thing. This is a little thicker paper. Actually, I think I'm going to run it through again just because this is a little thicker paper. It looks like everything went through fine, but just to be sure. So I'm going to match up those. I think the first time I did it, I went forward, backward, and forward again. But this is, the foil sheets are thicker than our standard cardstock. So sometimes for that reason, you need to do, there we go, do a little bit more. So I'm going to do the same thing now, just kind of roll it, and as the pieces lift up, punch them out. Super easy, or you can pull out your die brush with the sponge. You really can roll those pieces forward or backwards to pull them out. If you need confetti for any reason, this is a good place to get some. My girls were funny when they were little because we always did New Year's Eve at home, just a family time. But they used to sit and cut up all kinds of different paper and colors of paper, and then they would put them on one large sheet and then string it up to the ceiling. And then at midnight, they would knock it down and all the confetti would fall, and they just thought they were so fun. Which actually it was really fun, but then the next day I just vacuumed it all up. But they did that for several years. It was so funny. So that's what I think of when I think of confetti. If you've got a couple stubborn pieces, just poke them out with your take your pick tool. And it looks like that's everything. So now we're going to make kind of what I would call a simple and elegant card. We're again using Evening Evergreen for the card base, but this is a standard card base, 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and I scored it 4 1/4 on the long side. I'm going to adhere this piece of white cardstock to the front. And I'm also going to put one on the inside of the card, and both of these measure 5 1/4 by 4 inches. I then have another piece of Designer Series paper from the same package. Okay, and there's the back side, but I'm going to use this green side and put this layer here. And then this will go right on top of it, like that. And if you want it higher or lower or to one side, you can always do that. It's also, I wanted mine to go horizontally, so that's the direction I cut my DSP. But you could also do this this way as well. So once again, I'm using my, oh, there's more pieces missing or still in there that I missed. There we go. So a little bit of multi-purpose glue, just a fine line around the 4 sides. And then the middle, and that should be plenty. And I'm going to center this. Like that. And we're going to use the new Go-To Greetings stamp set. But one thing I want to point out right here is on each of these cards, that die cut serves a different purpose. So here, the die cut basically serves the purpose of a background enhancing the stamped and die cut flower we popped up on the front. On this card, the die cut is actually the focal point of the card, with the DSP being the background. So here it's the focal point. And I'm going to keep this real simple and just add one of these sentiments to it. This is that wonderful new Go-To Greetings set. Has some very basic greetings repeated several times, but in different sizes and different fonts. So it's a nice, what do I say, nice go-to. Now, I want to show you this as well. You can take your, you don't have to guess, take your stamp and kind of measure the size. So it's approximately, looks like 1 1/4. So that tells me I'm going to want my cardstock to be about 1 1/2 inches wide. And it's about 4 inches long. And so therefore I'm going to make this, I'm going to cut it about 4 1/4 inches, I think. Actually, I'll cut 4 1/2 just to be on the safe side. Let me see what length this is. Yep, that's already 4 1/2. And what did I say? 1 1/2 inches. But that's just a, you know, we do want to take the time and do some measuring when we're working with different stamps. And I could cut it smaller if I want, but for now I'm just going to go with this. I'm going to stamp it in the Mossy Meadow. I should stamp on this first, see how straight I get it. Because remember, the labels on your, the labels on your stamps don't always indicate how straight or not you have the label on the rubber. But if I stamp first on scrap paper, I kind of know where to lift up or move one end down. Now, I think this is a little large. It's using up more of the, covering up more of that die cut than I want. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut a little bit off, like a 1/16 of an, or an 1/8 of an inch on both of the long sides. So now it is, and it's better to go a little bit too big and take it down. Because if you cut a little too small and you think, oh, it's too tight, it looks crowded on there, then you have to start over with a new piece of cardstock. And these don't look quite even, so I'm going to make them even. So now I've got 1 1/4 by 4 1/4 for that. And I'm deciding, where do I want this? And I'm thinking I want to do something decorative with the ends. Now, we don't have a punch that's exactly 1 1/4 inches wide, so I have a couple different things in mind. Let me find it here. So this is our one of our newest punches. It is called same thing on the other side. Again, just looking to see if it's centered there in the punch from top to bottom. That looks pretty good. And using your punches in this way, oh, I don't think I'm frozen. Kathleen, on my end, it looks like it's still going. Unless it froze for just a little bit. Can everybody, is everybody seeing me? But using your punches in this way, okay, it went out, hopefully not long because I didn't even notice it went out. So did you see me, how I punched the ends of this? I put in one end at a time. Yes, you did see that. Okay, good. So it wasn't long because I didn't even see it freeze on my end. And then I'm just going to add this. It can go any direction you want. It can be off center, up or down, or left or right, whatever you like. I think I'm going to go right in the center. And I'll just pop it up with a couple of dimensionals. And you can honestly use any kind of sentiment in the middle. You can add some pretty embellishments if you want, a little bow or ribbon. You can do whatever, but honestly, I think it looks really nice and classic and simple and elegant, just like this. So I'm going to leave this, but I do want to show you one more way to use that same die. And this time we're using a polished pink card base. So I'm going to cut this. Remember, if you're like me, you like to cut 2 card bases at once. So I've got one piece of 8.5 by 11. I'm going to score it in the center at 4 1/4. Turn it the opposite direction and cut in the center at 5 1/2. And that's a quick and easy way to cut and score both at once. You score once, you cut once, instead of cutting a piece and then scoring each of them separately. Just, especially if you're making a lot of something, that's a quick little way to save some time. So this is going to start out being the same, but we're going to then incorporate some ribbon that matches this. So I'm cutting a piece of, and these are the same dimensions as the last card, 5 1/4 by 4 inches for the DSP. I love this card. Okay, I'll put that here, right place. So standard size card base. Sunny and 80 degrees in Iowa. How nice. I'm going to adhere both pieces of basic white cardstock, one on the front and one on the inside. They both measure 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Vicki, it is very pretty DSP. Do you have it already? I'm not sure if you had placed an order before or since the new catalog came out. How many of you are enjoying the new catalog? Oh, Naples. I saw that Naples is getting some pretty severe, or well, I should say a lot of Florida is getting some pretty severe weather. So you stay, oops, this is not cut right. This should be 5 inches by 3 3/4. 5 inches by 3 3/4. So it's centered just like that. And remember with this die cut too, you don't have to use all of it. You could cut away some of it. And I'll show you an example of what I mean after I finish this card. So time once again to die cut that beautiful shape. I don't know if I would call it a lattice or not. What would you call it? Okay, Vicki, so it's on your wish list, I assume. these pieces are already starting to fall out. So I'm going to do the same thing, just curl that paper and give those a little help to fall out. Gosh, I should have a confetti jar. If I had a confetti jar, I wonder how long it would take me to fill it up. There aren't a whole lot of dies, though, that cut out this many tiny pieces. Again, if you've got any stubborn ones or any that you missed, use your, I like to use the piercing end of my take your pick tool. And I think that's all of them. Doris, it really is pretty. It is very pretty. Okay, now on our other cards, we just went ahead and put the die piece right onto the card base. But on this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to pull some ribbon through it. Oh, I didn't want to, should not have put this on just yet. Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah, I do. Sorry. So I'm going to make this just a little bit longer than the length of the die. And I don't think how I have this before. And really, you could go through any of the spaces that you want. There's no truly right or wrong answer to doing this. Now this ribbon's kind of sheer. I chose it because it's the matching color. But it has, this technique has more of an impact if you're using perhaps a solid color, more solid color ribbon, something not so sheer. If you're having trouble pulling the ends through, just recut it at an angle, and that works great. Okay, so far just heavy rains. Well, that's good to know. Hopefully it won't develop into something more serious. And then what I'm going to do is just put a glue dot by each end, and I'll fold that ribbon over onto that, and that will hold it in place. You could even leave the ends up, maybe just cut them at an angle if you want, but I want to fold mine over. Fold it over on each end. And I don't want these ends showing from the front side, so I'm just going to cut them off real close to where that glue dot is. Being careful not to cut the die die piece itself. And then I can add it just like that. For this, because the background is so busy, I'm going to add another layer of the, what did I call it? The polished pink cardstock. And this is another one of those cases where the die cut itself serves more as the focal point of the card and not just a background. And I want this to be just slightly larger. So I'm going to go, let's see, 4 3/4. I want to double check. 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. How are you, Mary Lou? It's nice to have you. Once again, I turn to this wonderful multi-purpose glue. Do any of you watch the Today Show? And if so, have you heard about Al Roker's June Walk 30-Day Challenge? I think they're calling it Start Today Great or something like that. But last year I did one of his walking challenges, and it was in, I believe it was March or April. So the weather could be a little challenging for me. But I've decided I'm going to do this again. So I haven't walked yet today, so I'll do that after I finish the Facebook Live. But if anybody wants to join me in a walking challenge, I would love it if you did. And then I'm just going to pop this up. So we don't have much of the DSP showing, but that's the way I intended it to be. I just wanted a little bit. So actually I'm using the DSP to enhance the die cut as the focal point. And I'll pop this up on dimensionals. And I'll put one in the center too. And then we're just going to use a simple sentiment, just because. That is the sentiment, just because. I'm going to center this. You wouldn't even have to put a sentiment on. This makes a pretty note card, just as is. And if you want to add some embellishments, you could add to the center, you know, some of those pretty pearls, just like that. But I'm going to do a simple sentiment. And where is my, there it is. Okay, I'll give that a moment to dry. I'm going to banner cut the one end, and then I'll leave the left end just a little bit long because I'm going to put a, make a small bow with my ribbon and put it on that end. That ink pad was really juicy. Or maybe I just pressed a little too hard. Let me see if I can restamp that without it being quite so juicy. Get just a little bit clearer look. Yeah. A little better. So like I said, just a small bow, because I still want that die cut piece to be the focal point. So this is a 1/2 inch strip, and cut just a wee bit more. Actually, I think I will banner cut this, and I can still put the bow near that end. So you can really put this anywhere. It could be right across the middle, but then we're covering up a lot of that ribbon. I think I'm going to put it in an angle, maybe. This is where I was going to put it. You know, I think I'm going with the angle, just for something a little bit different this time. You know, I did not plan that, Doris, but yes, my nail polish matches the polished pink cardstock perfectly. You would have thought I would have like carried my cardstock to the nail salon or something, the way it matches. And then I'll just add this bow with a simple glue dot. Now, I saw somebody, Doris, you suggested go ahead and put some jewels on. Okay. And really, either size of these, I think, would fit right in those circles. I think I'm going to go with the smaller ones, though. There's actually another circle kind of hidden over here. I'll do one large one in the center. So this time the die has a lot of elements happening. The ribbon pulled through it, the iridescent pearls throughout, and then again, just like on this card, the die cut really serves as a focal point. And here is just more background. It's not what we noticed first on this card. We noticed the flower first with the die cut in the background. All right, and like I said, I wanted to show you this. What time is it? Oh, it's an hour already. That's longer than I usually go. But I do want to show you this one other thing. I pointed out that you could actually just use part of your die cut. You don't have to use the whole thing. So let's do that. Well, looking for a piece of... Not quite big enough. So you can actually cut this out and then trim it almost so that it's a doily without that rectangle all the way around it. And I'll show you what I mean. So it's just another way to use the same die cut, just showing you some of the versatility of it. I have to say, I love that we switched manufacturers of dies, because I feel like the dies just cut out so much more cleanly. think it's been a couple of years already since they switched manufacturers, but I've been really pleased with that. And of course, we have an awesome Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So what I'm talking about here is just cutting away some of these parts. And this is something you can really do different ways. You can cut off more or less. To look where I started because I want it to be symmetrical this time. The wax paper between the layers does help so that the cardstock and such does not stay stuck in your dies. So especially if you have an old machine or some old dies where that tends to happen, that a wax paper, who said that? Sandy. Sandy, did you, I'm trying to think, there was somebody last week I was trying to get in, left a message with. Did you see a message that you won a card, Sandy Crosby? If you didn't see it, would you please message me your address? I can't remember if you did or didn't, but I thought of it when your name popped up. So there's an example. You can even go farther and cut off all those straight edges. Oh, you know what I think would look neat with this doily type shape is the teacups. Okay, thanks, Sandy. I try to remember. Whoops, did I want to do that? No, I wanted to leave that there. I'm trying to make it symmetrical, which is hard to keep thinking about when I'm talking. So you could do something like this and use it on a card. Okay, I'm going to take it. So this looks great, right? I'm going to go another step further and use just more of this flower shape in here. Kind of rounding it out for more of a circle shape. But I think this doily idea would look super cute with our teacup sets. Okay, so there's just some another different way to use that same die cut. You know, when I buy things, I want to figure out get as many different ways of using my products as I can. Makes me feel like I'm really getting my money's worth, you know, and just adds to the creativity, right? Okay, Laura, you agree the teacup and the doilies would go together nicely, right? I'll have to play with this and see what I come up with. Anyways, welcome, or thank you for visiting me here on Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe. I'm so glad that you've been here. I do want to give away these 3 cards today. If you would like to receive one of these cards, what should we comment? Last time we did Artisan Editions, but maybe we'll do that again. So Artisan Editions is where this die comes from. So I'm going to have you, where's my little sheet here? So I'll have you type that in the comments if you would like to be entered into the drawing to win one of these 3 cards. So it's Artisan Editions dies. Okay, Artisan Editions dies. I have found when I've asked you to comment with the name of a product, it helps me remember those names and it helps customers remember those names as well. So again, these are the 3 different pieces in that die set. If you were not with me on Wednesday evening, you want to check back because you'll want to see how we use the other 2 dies. Here's that one that we used to make a nice masculine card. And then I used that floral die in 3 different ways. So you can also find that here. And that actually, that one from Wednesday evening will post later today. It's almost done. Be on my blog, stampinpiece.com. Are there any questions about what you saw today or any of the products or any of the promotions going on? We have the last chance promotion for the January-June mini catalog. Lots of great deals. Lots of products are retiring, but many of them are discounted. And all of those retiring products are available while supplies last only. The other promotion is the buy one, get one half off from the Kids Collection. And the Kids Collection can be found online. And an easy way to, well, here's my online store, maryknabe.stampinup.net. But you can also go to stampinpiece.com and just click on the word shop, and that will take you directly to my online store as well. Doris, yes, please do watch from the beginning. And you all have a fabulous weekend. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Not sure what we're doing. I was thinking ahead to Monday and thought, you know, we haven't done a one-sheet wonder in a while. So, so maybe I'll put that on the schedule for one of those Facebook Lives next week. Thanks again. Have a great weekend and happy stamping always.